Orville and Wilbur Wright were brothers, 4 years apart, that shared a curiosity about the world matched by few. Their fascination with flight began with a flying toy their father gave them when they were children. As they grew, they continued to be interested in the mechanics of how things worked and how things could be improved. Orville made kites that he sold at school, and Wilbur started reading all that he could about how birds flew and machines worked. They made kites so big they could hold human weight and were called gliders, but they flew on nothing but the air flowing over and under their wings, but a person could only ride one for 10 seconds. So they decided to go big and create a lightweight engine for a man-powered aircraft. The remarkable thing about the Wright brothers was their determination and confidence. Regardless of how many times their planes crashed and they had to rebuild them, they rebuilt them better than before. One day, their plane flew for a full minute, 859 feet. Not long after, in 1908, they had perfected a plane that could fly for 25 minutes and go 40 miles per hour. They had created powered, controlled flight and discovered the incredibly important forces that act on a plane to keep it in the air. The basics of their designs are still how jets that weigh up to 1.3 million pounds stay in the air. Yet, the science behind flight isn't understood by very many people. In this video, we are going to explore the science of flight so that as we travel and see the world in our lifetimes, we understand all of the discovery and dedication that allows us to fly across the Atlantic Ocean in a mere 6 hours. I asked my friend Michael Carlini, who's a commercial pilot, why he thinks some people don't think too much about flying. They just get on a plane, fly across the ocean, and get off the plane. Let's see what he has to say.
I don't think a lot of people think about it. They kind of take it for granted. They get on an airplane and they just think, okay, point A to point B, and they don't even think about what's happening. I don't even think a lot of people realize that if they could go through the floor of the plane, like, 7 feet, there'd be nothing for like another 6 or 7 miles between them and the earth. They don't think about that. It's fascinating. It's not scary. I mean, it's exciting. There's nothing really quite like flying. You have these machines that can weigh, millions of pounds, and yet they float in the air. They float in the air like, 7 miles up, flying at 500 miles an hour. Like, how is that not fascinating?
He's right. How is it not fascinating? The first thing to understand about flying is the shape of the wing and its relationship to air. But before we can talk about what is special about the shape of a wing, we have to understand that air is a fluid. It has weight and mass, and the density of air, how close together the particles are, is affected by gravity, and in the case of an airplane wing, air speed. It is hard to understand because we can't see air, but we can feel it when we are at high altitudes, deep underwater, or standing in a strong wind. The shape of an airplane's wing is called an airfoil. It's rounded on top, flat on the bottom, and becomes tapered towards the end. This shape is vital to the flight of the airplane. As the plane gains speed by being pulled through the air by the engines, the air particles it's moving through split and flow under and over the airfoil. This creates an upward force called lift. And this is where air pressure and density come into play. Because the air on the top of the wing is following the rounded shape, it has further to travel, and it travels faster. Because it travels faster, the air particles become more spread out over the space of the wing, and this creates lower pressure on top of the wing. On the bottom of the wing, there is higher pressure because the air particles do not spread out. The lower pressure on top of the wing creates a suction that causes the wing to be pulled upwards. At the same time this is happening, the angle of the wing causes air to be deflected downwards, as you can see in this video. The opposing force to this also keeps the wing of the plane in the air. The video that you're watching right now is incredibly cool because in this particular case, there was a lot of condensation in the air, so we can actually see the pattern that the air follows as it's flowing over the airfoil. It's pretty rare because you don't often see the pattern of the air in real life. It's just talked about, and you have to visualize that inside of your head. Pilots like Michael use their knowledge of the relationship between air and the wings of the plane to steer, increase speed, land safely, and push the boundaries of flight. Let's hear from Michael about how he became a mega nerd.
I was a mega nerd. I still am, but I was a really big nerd. During the recesses where I wouldn't be in the library studying my airplane books, I was outside and I knew all the airplanes that were coming in, because they'd fly right over the school. I knew where all of them were from, and I knew what time they're supposed to get there. I mean, I kind of used that passion to keep me going, keep me motivated, and then I got to fly jets by the time I was 22. My junior year of high school, I got 2 jobs and decided to start taking flying lessons. And over the course of about a year, I did all my flight training and got my pilot's license right before graduating high school when I was 18. Once I was done with college, I started my own business and spent all my money on more flight training. And then once I got my commercial pilot's license, I got a job flying skydivers. I'm currently studying to be a flight instructor so I can teach people how to fly. If you're interested in learning more about flying, or you want to get exposed to it more, go online and go to EAA.com, Experimental Aircraft Association. They have a program called the Young Eagles, and all over the country they have different chapters, and they'll have a bunch of volunteers, pilots, who will take kids up and take them flying so they can kind of see what it's like. A lot of the times on those through EAA and Young Eagles, they'll actually let you fly the plane, so you can go out with someone and actually take controls of the airplane. I've been fascinated with flying for as long as I can remember, and ever since I was a little kid, all I wanted to do was be a pilot. I don't even remember the first time I was exposed to flying. I think my parents might have taken me on a trip somewhere, and we went on an airplane, and something clicked, and ever since then I've been dreaming about flying. Something funny about flying.
Well, it's not that funny. It's pretty serious.
Very serious.